Hello, and welcome to our webinar today, which is called Raise More from Your Community, Peer-to-Peer Fundraising and Virtual Day of Giving Campaigns. I'm Kate Moore, Director of Digital Engagement at Best Friends Animal Society, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Erin.
Hello, everybody. I'm Erin McEwan. I'm the Digital Fundraising Program Specialist at Best Friends Animal Society.
And today's agenda is all things peer-to-peer fundraising. So we're going to talk about why you should do peer-to-peer fundraising, what it looks like, the best practices, how to choose a tool, and then we'll bring it all together in a virtual Day of Giving campaign overview and step-by-step plan for how to do that. A lot of this will feel familiar if you've participated in Strut Your Mutt over the years, but our goal is to give you the foundation and the resources to run your own peer-to-peer fundraising event or campaign. So to kick us off, peer-to-peer fundraising is when individuals collect donations from their peers on behalf of your organization, sort of an indirect fundraising program. Now, some individual fundraisers are self-driven, while others will need a reason to fundraise. So you can think about peer-to-peer fundraising as either organized or DIY, as in do it yourself. DIY fundraising is usually tied to personal events or motivations. So you'll often see birthday fundraisers, like this example here from IRC, wedding fundraisers, anniversaries, maybe adoptiversaries, and also individual athletic events where people just want to fundraise on their own. Organized fundraisers are tied to organizational efforts or campaigns. So this is usually an organized athletic event like Strut Your Mutt, for example, or other specific campaigns like the virtual Day of Giving that we will talk about here in a minute. So optimally, you want to support both types of fundraisers by allowing individuals to fundraise anytime they feel moved to, but also actively recruit fundraisers for specific campaigns. So when we get into the whys for peer-to-peer fundraising, there's a few key ones to consider. So the first is that it's a very cost-effective donor acquisition model. When your supporters go out to find new donors to your organization through peer-to-peer fundraising, that means that you don't have to go out and actively recruit them yourself. That saves time, it saves budget, and really lets your supporters do that work for you, which is amazing. It's also flexible. So as we talked about a moment ago, supporters may want to fundraise for a specific campaign, but also for a personal reason. And you can build a peer-to-peer campaign around any activity or event. So it's just endlessly flexible for how you can use it. And then lastly, it gives supporters other ways to help. So oftentimes donors are looking for other ways to support your work, or other supporters would like to do more, but aren't able to donate right now. So peer-to-peer gives supporters another way to raise funds, make an even bigger impact than they're able to on their own, and get the word out about your work. So you do need some kind of tool to support peer-to-peer fundraising. To start with, most, if not all of you already have Facebook fundraisers set up. It's part of the Meta fundraising tools. And I'm sure you all are already familiar with them to some extent. When it comes to a peer-to-peer fundraising program, there are some benefits and drawbacks of using Facebook fundraisers for this type of program. On the one hand, it does meet your fundraisers and donors where they are, as they're already likely using Facebook and already have engaged with Facebook fundraisers in some way, shape, or form. They're also easy to set up for both the organization and for the fundraiser. You can get started really quickly. On the other hand, it's hard to support and communicate with fundraisers because there's no built-in tool to do that beyond just individual messages or commenting on fundraisers. It's also really hard to build a relationship with the donors because you don't get much donor data. So in some ways, the donors to those fundraisers are just lost to Facebook, and you don't have a way to talk to them moving forward. And then it's minimally customizable beyond changing the image and the text and the headline. You can't really change anything else about it. So you're really kind of stuck with the interface that Facebook provides. So I do suggest considering another type of platform to support this program. And we've got some key considerations to think about. The main one being budget, because I know everyone feels a little anxious about bringing on a new digital fundraising tool when most of us have many very small budgets. But there's a variety of price points out there. So I want you to know that and know that there are options. Some are free, some just charge a small percentage of donations and don't take any upfront charge. And then others charge a monthly or annual fee for use of the platform. So choose the option that works best for you, but know that there are options. You also want to make sure that your platform is scalable and flexible. So if you're going to launch a peer-to-peer fundraising program, tomorrow after watching this webinar, you want to make sure that as it grows over the next 6 months to a year, maybe several years down the road, that the platform that you've brought on board can support that growth. You don't want to be having to look for a new platform in just a few months. You also want it to be able to support all those different types of fundraisers that we talked about, and be flexible to be able to do that. You want a platform that is customizable. You want to be able to create a campaign that's entirely your own. You want it to reflect your goals. You want it to reflect the look and feel of your organization, your mission. So every way that you can make it look like you, look like your website, look like your brand personality, the better. You want it to be easy to use, both for you as staff and creating campaigns, setting up pages, managing donations and fundraisers, but also for your fundraisers, you want it to be easy to use. They're going to be registering, setting up their own fundraiser pages, sharing their story, sharing their fundraiser with friends. And then finally, also for their donors, you want it to be really easy for the donors to give and not create any unnecessary obstacles to making that donation. Your platform should have social and mobile friendly features. So your fundraisers need to be able to share their efforts on social media to be able to reach their friends and family and ask them to donate. So that should be built into the platform. You also need your fundraisers and donors to be able to engage with these campaigns on their mobile devices, especially because they'll be coming from social media. So most likely they're going to be on those devices. You want some gamification tools. We'll talk more about this in a little bit, but leaderboards, thermometers, goal setting are all crucial to creating some friendly competition and also gives fundraisers a way to see their progress. And then finally, to bring it full circle, you want to be able to track performance and report on it. That will help you see how campaigns are doing in real time, but also compare campaign to campaign, year over year, and make sure your program is growing in the ways that you want it to. So now we'll talk about our peer-to-peer fundraising basics. So the first key element is actively recruiting fundraisers. So while some self-driven fundraisers will come to you, you'll also need to ask your supporters to fundraise. They won't know that you want them to fundraise if you don't ask them. So start with some of your already engaged segments like donors, volunteers, staff, fosters, anyone who is already giving their time or money to the organization. And then expand beyond that to your social media followers, your email subscribers, anyone you're interacting with who's looking for a way to help with your mission. And make sure you show them how easy it is, give lots of examples for how others have fundraised to help get their creative ideas flowing. Next, you want to make sure you're providing fundraising tools to your fundraisers. So supporters will have varying levels of comfort and competency in fundraising, and one way you can help them is to create resources that educate them on how to fundraise for your mission. So you can create a toolkit like you see here in this really beautiful example from Starlight Children's Foundation. You can see they provided downloadable assets, imagery, video, also fundraising tips, to help people get started. So that's all super helpful for your fundraiser. You can also provide sample email and social media copy. You can encourage them to share a personal story about why they support your organization. That's always really impactful. And then, of course, remind them to thank their donors and give them some tips on how. You want to provide personal support for your fundraisers. They're going above and beyond for your organization. So make sure you have set up the infrastructure within your organization to support them. Try to respond to questions and requests for help as soon as you can so that your fundraisers build a really good relationship with the organization. They feel supported. That makes them want to fundraise more and hopefully will come back year after year to help your organization. Part of making peer-to-peer fundraising fun is inspiring some friendly competition between fundraisers, especially for the organized fundraising events we talked about. So tools like leaderboards and fundraising thermometers can inspire fundraisers to go the extra mile. They want to see themselves at the top of that list. You can try offering rewards to the highest fundraisers or setting funny challenges for your top fundraisers to complete. For Start Your Mutt, we often offered prizes for hitting your fundraising goals, for top fundraisers and teams, for raising maybe $100 in a specific time period. So you can get really creative about what kind of prizes you and incentives you want to set. But make sure you're setting some key fundraising milestones for them to work towards, and then celebrate when they reach them. And in that vein, you want to make sure that you are recognizing your fundraisers. So they are working hard for you, so make sure you thank them. And you can do that privately, whether through email, text, phone calls, whatever the fundraiser prefers, but also publicly. So you can do social media shout outs like this example here from Charity Water, special thank you gatherings, any other public messaging to really help people feel special. The beauty of this kind of social media post is that you're not only celebrating and thanking the fundraisers who you're sharing about, you're also giving other potential fundraisers ideas for things they could do to fundraise, helps them see how fun it is, the sort of like team element to it. So it's really sort of a double whammy. Next, you want to make sure you're building relationships with the donors. So we're supporting our fundraisers, but also the donors are new donor prospects to your organization. Again, that's the beauty of this type of program. So remember that these are people you would not have found without your fundraisers. So make sure you reach out to them in a timely manner, introduce them to your mission and your work, give them other ways to get involved, make sure you're not missing out on that opportunity to reach them while you're fresh in their mind. So now I'm going to pass it to Erin to tell us a bit more about the Virtual Day of Giving campaign.
Great. Thank you, Kate, for that wonderful overview of peer-to-peer. So now we're going to dive into one of the organized campaigns that Kate had mentioned before. So we're going to talk about a Virtual Day of Giving campaign. So what is a Virtual Day of Giving? It's basically taking the idea of Giving Tuesday and applying that to any day of the year that you want. So you can make that work for your organization. And it's great because you can do it at a time when there's maybe less competition from other organizations asking for support. So as an example, we have here a college that their mascot is a tiger, so they leaned into that and came up with Roar Day as their day of giving, and just inspiration to get some creative ideas going. How you can tie your day of giving into whatever you want, whatever works for your organization. You can get creative with it. So for Best Friends, we celebrate National Best Friends Day every year on June 8th, and we've turned that into our Virtual Day of Giving campaign. So for Best Friends, that campaign is really focused on celebrating the bond that we have with our pets and helping homeless pets find their own best friends. So it's a great natural day for us to tie in, since it shares the name with our organization. It ties into our mission really well. And yeah, we've had Best Friends Day has been going on for 6 years now. We just had our 6th annual campaign, and it's been really great to see how over the years donors have really come to expect the campaign. They get excited about it. And the revenue has increased by 3 times since we've started it. So it's really grown over the years. And we hope you can, have a similar success starting a Virtual Day of Giving and continuing it year over year. And the peer-to-peer is a great way to grow a Virtual Day of Giving. Just in the past couple of years at Best Friends, we've added the peer-to-peer element to our Best Friends Day campaign. And it's helped grow revenue. It brings in new people to the organization, into the mission. And it's also, it's a really great campaign to encourage those fundraisers to share their personal stories. They have the personal connection with an animal that's their best friend, and they can share that story throughout this campaign then and bring more people in. So in terms of planning your virtual day of giving, the first thing you want to do is think about what day means something to your organization, what makes the most sense. Maybe it's a founding date, maybe there's an awareness day or month that already exists that ties well into your organization's mission, or a cultural holiday like National Best Friends Day that we tied into something that is already out there that your organization can, make a big splash and build the momentum and excitement around. And you want to think about what else is going on in your organization. So maybe you already have some events planned throughout the year, and there's an event that could tie into a giving day campaign, or maybe there's times that are super busy for your organization and you want to avoid, having extra work going on that time of year. That's the beauty of it. You can make it work for you. And then once you've selected your day, you can get into creating your marketing plan. So you can see an example here of a template that we use for all of our campaigns when it comes to planning. And it's great to have a document like this that's the go-to place for everything related to the campaign. So you'll have your dates, the goal, your plan and strategy for all the different channels the campaign is going to be featured on. And it's really helpful to lay all that out ahead of time and come up with your strategic communication plan for your different channels. So for example, for Best Friends Day, we promote it on all of our digital channels. So that's on the website, on email, social media, digital advertising, and sometimes we'll also have an offline component. So maybe we'll have like a postcard or a direct mail piece. So we would flush out the details for the plan for all those different channels on this document. So you'll want to start with talking about how long you want the campaign to run. And generally 2 weeks is a good starting point. That gives you enough time to build some momentum and get people excited about the campaign, but it's not so long that people might start to lose interest. And also in your planning, you'll want to think about the stories that you're going to use throughout the campaign and how the story arc is throughout the campaign. So thinking about, what story might be good to tell in the beginning of the campaign versus the middle versus, the actual day of giving, because you really want to build up that momentum throughout the campaign. And always, keeping in mind stories that are going to evoke an emotional response, and stories that potential donors and fundraisers can really see themselves in. Those are stories that are like gold for these types of campaigns. So keep all that in mind when you're doing your planning. And also, imagery is so important. So you want to make sure you have stories that you have access to images or videos to help tell those stories in a visual way. And lastly, in your planning, you also want to make sure you're thinking about reporting. So when it comes to the end of the campaign, you can measure the success of your different touch points and channels, and what emails did well, what social posts performed the best. So make sure you're thinking through how you're going to measure success so you can continue to grow and improve your Day of Giving campaign year over year. So then once you have your marketing plan laid out, then you're ready to start creating marketing materials. So here we have some examples from our Best Friends Day campaigns. And the idea here is you really want to create cohesive imagery, graphics, videos, posters, postcards that really helps amplify the message across all channels. So, no matter what channel someone sees something about your campaign, it looks consistent and cohesive. So you'll want to, lay out, your also taglines and any key messaging points. And the great thing about this is you'll already have all this packaged and ready to go. And you can also share it with your peer-to-peer fundraisers. So then they can share it with their audiences and help amplify the campaign to their networks. And next, you'll want to think about any events that you might be able to host during the day of giving. So this could be a virtual event or an in-person event. And the idea being having an event can really help increase energy and excitement around your day of giving. So for example, for Best Friends Day, we tend to do virtual events. We'll do live streams on our social media channels at different areas of the sanctuary. So for example, here was a live stream we did at Cat World that gave our supporters a little like sneak peek behind the scenes of what was going on at Cat World that day. And it's a really great way to get people engaged and, you know, see firsthand the impact that their donations or their fundraising efforts have on your mission. So some other virtual event ideas are casual check-ins with fundraisers. You could do a town hall type event with a CEO or someone from your organization, a virtual run or walk. And then in-person event ideas, you could do a happy hour or an open house. Maybe it's like a board member's house, or you could do a in-person walk or run, or a fundraiser hosted party. And these, again, are a great way to get your peer-to-peer fundraisers excited too, because they can share these events with their audience. And it's all about, you know, then you're bringing new people in, which is great. It's one of the main benefits to having that peer-to-peer element. So then once you have all those pieces together, you're ready to start recruiting your fundraisers. And it's great to start the recruitment process like just before your campaign launches. That way your supporters have time to plan their fundraiser, and, you know, if they have any questions, can come to you. You can provide that support, make sure they're ready to go as the campaign gets going and builds momentum. So as Kate mentioned before, it's great to start with that core group of supporters, you know, thinking about your donors, volunteers, board members, the folks that are already really engaged and passionate about your organization. Start with them and ask them to fundraise for this special day of giving. They might not know that they can fundraise for your organization. So it's great to let them know, and it'll really help bring in more revenue for your campaign, and it'll bring in new donors, and it'll help amplify your message and your mission. So it's a great element to add to your day of giving. And then you'll also want to think about your actual day of plan. So everything's leading up to this big day, right? So you want to make sure you're ready to make a splash and go big. So you'll want to make sure that you know, you're planning out all the elements of any events we discussed earlier that you might be hosting, either virtually or in person. You'll want to make sure you have your social media posts planned throughout the day, you know, great content ready to go, queued up, emails ready and scheduled. Don't be afraid to do multiple emails. This is your big day. So as long as you've got a clear call to action and, you know, strong, compelling stories in each email, go for it. Send multiple emails. And also you'll want to make sure on your website, on the homepage, it's clear. There's clear information about your day of giving, how people can get involved, since they might see an email or, you know, see a post, but then later they'll remember and go back to your website. So you want to make sure it's easy for people to find that information. And yeah, just we'd encourage you to don't be afraid to get loud. This is your day, so go big. And then lastly, you'll want to make sure you're thanking your donors and your fundraisers. So a big campaign deserves a big show of gratitude. So going ahead and planning some thank you emails, maybe a video that shows impact of how donors and fundraisers have supported your mission. Any way you can really show that gratitude and how their efforts helped your mission. And the idea is you want to keep people engaged. You'll likely have brought in new donors from the peer-to-peer fundraising efforts. So you want to make sure those people have a great first experience and you're keeping them engaged, and everybody feels good about how they were able to support your day of giving.
All right, thanks, Erin. So hopefully you have seen in the last 25 minutes or so that peer-to-peer fundraising can be a really valuable addition to your program. It's something you can use year-round, like DIY, or tie to specific campaigns like your day of giving. But either way, it's a great addition to your fundraising tool set. At the end of the day, you're really just encouraging the people who already love you to make an even bigger impact by helping you raise more money and reach new donors. It's a win-win. So thank you for your time and have a great day.
Thank you everyone for joining.